Charlie James there. Let's bring in Noga Tarnopolsky, our correspondent in Jerusalem, for more on this. Noga, tell us more about this phone call between Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu.
Well, it's a surprising call in a way, and Prime Minister Netanyahu has yet to say a word about it, which is interesting because his office did let journalists here in Israel know while he was speaking to Donald Trump, as if to inform everyone of his good connections with the US president. But since then, we haven't heard a word. Trump, in this tweet, contradicted what he had said just minutes before on CNBC, at one point saying he didn't care if the Iranians had cut off talks, and then immediately afterwards posting on his Truth Social network that talks were roaring ahead just fine. So at the same time as we're trying to report on what's happening on the Israeli-Lebanese border, in a way, we're also reporting on a new world order in which it is almost impossible to know what's truth and what's myth. Today, Prime Minister
Noga Tarnopolsky in Jerusalem there, just informing us that the phone call between Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu had been leaked or told about, or rather the press was informed about this phone call taking place, the content of which is still not fully revealed, Noga was saying. Noga explaining that what we're seeing here is perhaps a different kind of development in the world order, which is something perhaps beyond what people are feeling right now on the ground in southern Lebanon and in Beirut. The Israeli military, of course, had signalled its intention to attack these areas and has been attacking these areas since March the 2nd, when, of course, Hezbollah launched its attacks on the north of Israel in reaction to the attack by the US and Israel on Iran of February the 28th, which resulted in the death of the supreme leader of Iran. In the wake of all that, of course, we've seen the death toll rise across the south of Lebanon when Hezbollah launched its revenge attack, as it called it, for the killing of the supreme leader on March the 2nd. There's something like 3,500 people who've been killed, mostly, I think 99.9% Lebanese, some of them Hezbollah operatives, but of course some of them are not. And this is the crux of the matter in many ways. The number of Lebanese people that are being killed, of course, is more than 1 million who've been displaced by Israel's action, and we'll hope to get back to Noga Tarnopolsky for more on that conversation between Trump and Netanyahu, which, according to Trump's release of it, has resulted in a commitment from both Israel and Iran to stop the fighting, Israel and Hezbollah to stop the fighting, excuse me for that slip. But it wasn't such an inaccuracy because talks, Trump says, are ongoing with the Iranians. Noga Tarnopolsky, I can see, is back with us. Noga, great to have you with us again. I've just been filling people in more about the background of what's been happening, of course, going back as far as February the 28th, March the 2nd, and trying to fill in some of the details. But, of course, from you, we're looking for more on this phone call. You were telling us about the fact that the media were informed about it, but of course no one's been told any details. Trump has been a bit more garrulous about it as ever, because he's always looking to be the first person to break the news. So tell us where we're up to.
Well, I do have some breaking news. At the time that the line fell, the leader of the Israeli opposition, Yair Lapid, taunted Netanyahu, saying this looks like a total vassal state. Therefore, what we're understanding is that it's his understanding that Donald Trump has issued Israel instructions to stop the operation in Lebanon, not just not to send foot soldiers into Beirut, but to stop altogether. That's my understanding, not to advance further. And the other interesting part of we learned today that Donald Trump didn't mention is that we did hear from the Speaker of the Lebanese Parliament, Ali Hamdan, who said on behalf of Hezbollah, not that they agreed to disarm, but that they agreed to cease fire if Israel does. And I want to add one last thing. It's difficult to know what Trump means often in his contradictory statements, but in his post on Truth Social, he did say that he had a great conversation with Hezbollah. If that is the case, it is an historic moment. Hezbollah is an internationally recognized terror group, considered mass murderers by the entire Western world. And if this is in fact true, it would be a huge coup, both for Iran that sponsors Hezbollah and for Hezbollah that, among other things, was behind the murder or the killings of many U.S. service people.
I was going to say that issue about Trump saying that, you've kind of predicted my next question, because I've seen that Trump was talking about this conversation with Hezbollah. One wonders precisely what Trump means, because very often, as you point out, he will say one thing, but when you break it down, it adds up to a whole different equation. Can we talk a bit more about what Israel might or might not do now in Lebanon? Do you feel that this could be the point where the military operation stops, or do you think it will just continue to go ahead?
I don't think that Prime Minister Netanyahu is in a position to say no to Donald Trump at this stage. Netanyahu is deeply isolated, unpopular among his own people, and isolated from all of Israel's traditional allies, except for the United States. And Prime Minister Netanyahu boasted about having entered into this Iran operation on February 28th, shoulder to shoulder with the United States. I don't think he's in a position now to say no if the president demands that Israel stop moving north in Lebanon. Now, we don't know exactly what Donald Trump means and what orders are being transmitted to the Israeli army. Donald Trump simply said no soldiers can go into Beirut, but that may well mean that the operation has to stop still where it is right now and not escalate further.
Noga, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much indeed. Clearly, there are developments happening, and we'll come back to you, of course, as and when things emerge. Noga Tarnopolsky, our correspondent, as ever, with the insight from Jerusalem. Noga, thank you, as always.